Hey everybody, Ben F the Bonehead Podcast, and welcome to Print to Pitch. This is our show where we have a look at everything 3D printed for Blood Bowl. Teams, star players, big guys, stadiums. If we can 3D print it and use it, we'll probably end up having a look at it. Now, this week we are going to be looking at something that was shared with us, and it is a very unique take on a Blood Bowl team. This is from Rako Vendetta and is available right now on their Patreon, and it is a fully fledged cyborg orc team. So you might be thinking, cyborg orcs? Well, actually, cyborg orcs have got a massive, there's a real legacy of them within the Warhammer franchise. Back in, I think, the Rogue Trader era, I think probably 1st or 2nd edition Blood Bowl as well, there were cyborgs, cyber orcs, and I think Games Workshop have dipped into it recently as well, but I mean, this is a thing that goes all the way back to the late 80s, early 90s, and it is so cool. Now, Rako Vendetta do a bunch of different teams, and they go deep on the theme. So actually, we've got a picture here, the big picture of the big team, and we'll zoom in so you can kind of see some of the stuff. Now, it's quite a busy thumbnail, but like I said, it's cyborg orcs. And as we look through some of the team players here, some of the positionals and stuff, you can see the theme that these guys are going for, which is very much kind of like orcs mixed with Terminator, the franchise, and I mean some of the players just look properly like Mega Knobs from 40k. Like, I printed out some of these guys and I'm like, that looks awesome. Like, I wish this had a bunch of just shooters and stuff on, because they would be absolutely perfect for 40k. And this is the cool thing about Blood Bowl, is that you just need your players to represent a thing. So you need your blockers to be blockers, you need your blitzers to be blitzers, whether they're elf Christmas themed, whether they're Terminator orc themed, it doesn't really matter. So let's have a look at some of the positionals here. So we've got the blitzers. Now the blitzers, one thing I absolutely love about the way they've done this is they've kind of keyed into an aesthetic for a particular style of player. So the blitzers all have got these half moon kind of stabby blades, which is incredibly useful. I mean, just think yourselves back to the Imperial Nobility team, where the differentiating factor is how many feathers they've got. When it comes to this team, the blitzers have got these stabby blades, which is awesome. The blockers are just big square dreadnought looking guys. The troll is the size of a small child. So they've done a really good job of like blocking out the players. But on top of that, every single one of the sculpts is completely unique and has a ton of character and a ton of that cyborg thing. It's just phenomenal. Like, look at these guys. They're all they look like jump jet troops from 40k mixed with Juggernaut from X-Men. Like, it's really well executed. It is beyond fantasy. We are into sci-fi, but we're talking about cyborg orcs. So there's 4 individual blitzer models. We've printed a couple of those off. Now they've got big advocates here, which is the orc blockers. And I mean, if you are at all familiar with 40k, like Mega Knobs and Dreadnought or Death Dreads, it's got that kind of vibe, that kind of like blockiness to them. I like that this one's got like an iron halo to it as well. You've got a dude with a skeleton on. They're big models. They're big and chunky and stompy, and it's so very orc. You've got like the bits of metal teeth that they've just stuck on there as well. It's every one of these models is awesome, and quite frankly is super just missing a bunch of guns. So I don't know. I had a look at Rako Vendetta's library or portfolio as it is, and they've got some really cool 40k stuff. There's some really nice Tyranids. I'm fighting the urge to buy the new 40k kit, so I'm kind of trying to look for some Tyranids to print so I can just get it out of my system rather than getting it out of my bank account. But anyway, it's really cool. 4 big blockers, different poses again. So 4 blitzers, 4 blockers, doing all right so far. Then you've got the launchers. So these are your orc throwers, and what we'll see here is you look at the thrower on the left hand side, there's a lot of design aesthetics here that carry over to the lineman as well, which is very much along the lines of the kind of piston in the arms aspect of cyborgs, which is really cool. I love the big dent in that guy's chest. I mean, no matter how you feel about orc throwers, you can appreciate how well executed these are. And then you've got the lineman, the T800 orcs. T800s. Okay, And this is what I mean. You've got like the kind of piston things. Although these orcs look a little bit like, the arms look a little bit go-go gadget arms, which is pretty cool. I mean, they've done a good job. The lineman, I printed off one lineman because you don't want the lineman to be the most interesting thing about your team. But when we have a look at the model in a second, you can see the skull aesthetic where they're going with the T800, the kind of Terminator skeleton vibe. They've done a really good job of kind of catching that internal piece to it, just mixed in with an absolute outrageous amount of metal and stuff. In fact, the rest of the orcs look cyborg. These guys literally just look like robots. And again, that's very cool and very well done. The goblins, for the most part, are really cool. I printed the top right one. This guy with the massive pincer is amazing. This guy with kind of springy legs is really cool too. This guy with the wheels, not to my taste, but I mean, it's very cool. One of their previous teams was the Biker Dwarf team that we will eventually have a look at. But again, a ton of detail. Like, regardless as to whether or not you're a fan of the robot aesthetic, the sculpting is on point. This is a really well done team. So super impressed with that. So we've got 8 linemen, 2 throwers, 4 blockers, 4 blitzers, 4 goblins, and a massive troll. And this is just amazing. So Troll Z is just a monster of a model. Now, you know I like big guys to be big guys when they're big, and guys, just big. This is beyond big. This is an amazing model, and there's just so much chunk to it. If you guys have been following the Warhammer community, they're looking at like the top 40 Games Workshop models, and they made a little comment there about the Space Marine Dreadnought being just a chunk of metal that you could hurt somebody with. I think in the podcast, Ben talked about putting it in a sock and beating someone to death with it. Not recommended, but I'm pretty sure that's how the conversation went. If this guy was metal, it would weigh more than my car. And again, it's just brilliantly executed and standing on a guy. Now, I think this guy is one of the linemen from their Chaos team. Their Chaos team's got this kind of gladiatorial vibe to it, the linemen especially. So that's really cool. We're going to have to look at that team as well. In the meantime, though, that wraps up each of the models from a pictographic point of view. Let's have a look at the STLs. Okay, the first ones we're going to have a look at are 2 of our blitzers. And interestingly, I don't think these are the ones I printed off. No, good. All right, so it's fun to look at some different sculpts. So when it comes to these 2 blitzers, we've got the kind of Bane Mask guy and we've got the Juggernaut guy. Now, that's just how I see them. But I'm sure that I'm missing... we get so many of these teams and I tend to miss references and then feel like a complete fool for it afterwards. However, you can see that there is plenty of detail on these models. You've got everything. You've got the little gauges, you've got fabric, softened bits like fabric texture. Fabric texture, Ben. Texture is the word, not softener. That's for cleaning your clothes. And you can see you've got more fabric texture, you've got all the bits of the springs, you've got just... They've done a really good job again here. You don't have... The whole thing doesn't look busy. I mean, there's a lot of busy detail on there, but actually when you take a model like this and actually give it a 360 look, there's some plain areas. There's not a huge amount of stuff. There's not a huge amount of like teeny tiny details. On some of the on the web store, I think this guy will do this 115% scale, and that is because, like I said, I wanted him to have a decent amount of mass to kind of match up with the other detailed. And I think the Games Workshop kits are really victim to this, especially like the Corn one, where there's just so much filigree. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, a bit of a contrast is okay. This is probably what I would say would be a medium difficulty to paint model, because you've got a lot of bits and bobs, and it's not just zoned areas. So the Punga team of late have been really basic. Okay, you've got this bit, you've got this bit, you've got this bit, and a couple of bits across it to detail it. There's a lot of texture here, and I like that you can see this guy's face. So okay, so those are the 2 blitzers that we're going to have a look at from an STL point of view. Let's grab a couple of the defensors, as they call them, which are these the big and blockers, not black orcs. I might have called them black orcs earlier, but these are just outrageous. Honestly, when we look at the size of these, it's super impressive. So we've got Defensor 1 and Defensor 2 here. I think these are... Nope, I printed one of these guys, this guy on the left. This is so 40k. Like, I don't know what Rako Vendetta is planning on doing with these orcs, but he needs to just slap a ton of guns and claws on them, because these are just awesome. And again, you can see the same kind of level of detail. You've got all the metal bits, you've got the bolts, which are going to be fun and easy to paint. You've got some nice detail when it comes to cracks on lenses and stuff. You've got metal scratches, and actually, let's undo that. They've gone to a... Whoa. That's it. This is it. This is what happens when you use one screen. There we go. Let's center those. You can see you've got all the hose detail and stuff, but they've done a good job of tying the hoses to the model. We saw Brufun do a really good job of this with the Skaven tails. Actually, by kind of having the hoses in the open there, but anchored at the front, back, and middle, it makes them really survivable from the printing process. Nice bit of detail on the back there as well. Now, these are big. Like, these are big models, which is quite entertaining. So this one here is 69, so 7 centimeters tall. I mean, I know he's got a big old skeleton on his back, but that is like a chunk of space. But very, very cool. So those are the two defensors. We'll have that model there, and then we'll have a look. We'll have a look at the troll, because the troll is just outrageous. Oh, no, that's actually just a token. A massive token. All right, let's have a look at the troll quickly, then we'll have a look at the prints. Look at this dude. Like, this is just ridiculous. There's so much going on here. So height wise, all right, only 61 centimeters, 61 millimeters. 61 centimeters would be 2 feet. That's not quite right. Anyway, look at this. This is a mammoth model, and trying to figure out where the cyber begins and the raw flesh starts is really interesting. But they've done again a really good job of adding that texture, and the thing I really like about this model is bang on the screen here, where you've got this rough raw troll flesh, okay, and then the smoothness of the technology tied into it. It's just really well done. You've got tons of dings and dents and scratches and dirt, and a whole lineman on the ground being stomped on by this massive fisted orc, and then just this gigantic robot troll head. It's just phenomenal. Like, it's a really, really, really cool model. And I mean, this is the one when I got sent these files, I was looking at this and I was like, that troll is ridiculous. So naturally, I printed it. And we'll start by looking at the troll. So, what did I print this on? I think I printed this on the S2. No, not the S2. This one I printed on the Mars 2 Pro at 0.03 layer height, which is what I print everything on the Mars 2 Pro for. And this is just an awesome model. So they do come pre-supported. I did use the pre-supports. I did. I stuck to the program with this one and just used their pre-supports. I didn't have a single fail. I don't believe I had a single breakage. There is a lot of flash, I guess, is what we call it these days. Let me grab my knife, which I've magnetized to my desk. A lot of flash, and when I say flash, when it comes to a 3D printing point of view, you've got like little bits like that, which don't take much to come off. And actually, I'm a big fan of using light supports wherever possible. But what happens is you will be left with some of these small pieces here. However, I thought it was a good example to just kind of say, this is how hard that is to tidy up. Now, as a person who refuses to scrape mold lines off, I'm really sorry. There's some really pro modelers out there who watch this channel who will be judging me. Hi, Drew. And Ben, actually. Ben's big on this. But I'm not that guy. That's not what I do. So, when it comes to 3D printing and buying 3D printed models or getting them and printing them off, having little bits of flash like that this is as much as effort as it takes. And when you're cleaning up your print, you may not catch all of this. So actually, I found that once you've kind of primed your model, it'll become more obvious where you've got bits. The really funny thing is, very much like mold lines, this stuff will you won't see it until you've primed, and then you won't see the next bit until you've painted the next thing. So on the one hand, the supports are great. On the other hand, there's a few to tidy up. But I mean, I will take that any day over the 15 pieces of slightly warped resin that can be the case when you buy any kind of model. Anyway, he's got a massive troll head. that makes me kind of feel like I just kind of get Majora's Masks vibes. Just that big empty eyes and the massive gaping face. It just gives me that kind of, I don't know, that kind of aesthetic. Right, cool model. All tons of skulls, tons of spikes, tons of surface detail. It's really well done. The only thing I will flag, this is a 40mm base and it is massive. Now, actually, as far as these models go, this one is fine. Scale wise is fine. He is big, and I've dug up a Games Workshop ogre. So, ooh, I think I might have the saturation turned up on this setting a bit too much. That is a vibrant, tasty looking orange. Right, we've got Games Workshop ogre on the left. We've got Rako Vendetta Cyber Troll on the right. And it is massive. However, it's fine for a big guy to be this massive. If we get the Punker Troll, it's of similar kind of ilk, and it fits within that 40mm base. That's as big as you want it to be. He's going to spew over a little bit, so when you get a strength 3 player, because it's so big though, it's kind of just going to be over the top of it. So actually, even though the troll is a chunky boy, I think it works. Okay, next up we're going to look at one of the throwers or launchers, and I mean, again, you can see all the details come out really nicely. I used their supports and didn't do a very good job de-supporting them. However, again, how easy is that clear up? Yeah, there's a bit of supporting on there. But I mean, this is something you don't have to spend the time gluing the model together. So you might have to spend a few seconds with a knife just flicking off some support pieces. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to bother contrasting these. I just gave them a bit of a white prime just to kind of highlight the detail, and you can see these are really good models. Again, the style may not be to your liking, but the sculpting is brilliant. The way the models come out is really nice. You can see some nice scratches on the armor there. Again, a bit of contrast is going to pick that up lovely. This is really well done. On the however side, size wise, these guys are a little bit big, so you are going to want to scale them down potentially. This is ogre sized. This is an orc thrower, and he is bigger than a Games Workshop ogre, so you are definitely going to need to tone these players down. So when it comes to the thrower, I mean, I'm talking 90% to the point where it might be okay. Potentially 80-85% to get to where you want to be is probably what I would suggest. So definitely need some scaling down, but hey, fits on a 32, fits within the cylinder of a 32, which means it's going to be fine on the pitch. And if you like the models and like them big, then it's not going to cause you an issue. He's obviously a thrower because he's got a ball. It works nicely. So thrower, model, lovely, sculpting, lovely, size, bold. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of the blitzers here. So this is one of them, and again, you've got these good arm claw things that work brilliantly to kind of identify that these are blitzers. It's a really nice design choice, and it works beautifully. Now, this is an experience I haven't had since, I don't know, 1998, when I had a block of High Elf Spearmen. These are pointy. These are a series of stabby models, the like of which I haven't experienced since I had all those High Elf Spearmen back in the day. But again, we've already seen the detail that came out nicely on the troll and the thrower, so it's perfect. There's a lot of detail on this. These are proper models, and again, the big old jetpacks. Oh, they do have jetpacks. There you go. So 40k. If these guys had chain fists or chain axes or just chainsaws, maybe a pistol, they would just be some of the coolest orcs around. And I hope Rako Vendetta sees this and just goes, yeah, do you know what, I should add guns to these and sell them for 40k, because they're very cool. Now for Blood Bowl, it works. Again, however, I'm going to point out that the size is a concern, and you are going to need to scale down, and you're going to need to scale down to a level upon which you will need to do your own supports, because if you scale down pre-supported models, you can get away with 5%, you can sometimes get away with 10%, but we're looking at probably 85% of this, I think is probably about right. 85% scale, because again, they're bigger than ogres, which is even for me, I like big Blood Bowl models, but that might be a bit much. But I cannot knock the posing, and I cannot knock the execution. They are a ton of fun. Time for the Defensors, and I love these models. They are so outrageously square. They look like their dad tried to make them a robot costume out of Amazon boxes, and then orc stuff happened, which is just a ton of fun. They are big, they have got all the detail that you could want, and all the blooming spikes. Everything is so spiky. This is just incredible. Like, I didn't realize that resin could be this stabby, but ouch, handled with care. But I mean, I love it. Like, this is just wicked. Again, 40k aesthetic. It just looks like this dude is a tiny fortress. Where's the gun? This needs a gun. This arm needs a gun and a chainsaw. It's just absolutely wicked. Now for Blood Bowl, it works. This is a 32mm base, and it sits within the cylinder. This big dude, again, great posing, great size, great detail. The supports are brilliant. Nice detail here with the scratch along the side of the chimney. It's really, really, really well done. The renders of these models are really busy, but the actual prints and the models, they're just excellent. Like, I'm so glad I got a chance to print these out, because they are really good. Now again, this is going to be your big and blocker, who is going to be a strength 4 piece, and if we put him up against a black orc, this guy who is squatting is bigger than this guy. The guy who is not squatting is bigger than me. So again, you got to consider scaling down these models to make them fit in with most Blood Bowl stuff. Miles bigger than an ogre, but I don't know. Again, probably 85-90% scale to fit in with Blood Bowl. You'll save some resin, but you will need to re-support. And last but never least, we've got the Goblin. I printed off just one Goblin, and it was a completely random sculpt that I picked. And we got the Goblin who's leapfrogging over the ball. And, I mean, I wanted to show him off. He's got a cool cape. He's got a cool running pose. More supports that I missed, because I am a bandit. There we go, get rid of that. Probably shouldn't have thrown that on the carpet. Be careful of the Hoover. Right. Great texture, great sculpt, really good dynamism. This, again, really nicely done. Size-wise, do I have a Goblin model? Oh no, have I tidied up my Goblin models? Why? Tidying is the worst. Alright, we'll just use a strength 4 black orc. He's probably a bit big. Let's grab a strength 3 human. Oh man, I mean, he's shorter than a human, and when he compares to the rest of the team, he's much smaller, so he's obviously a goblin. But again, probably 90% scale is where you want this guy to be. It is quite funny when you compare him to some of the other models, like the troll, because the internal scaling of the team works, which is great. I just think the whole team's probably 10% bigger than it needs to be. And you know what? Great thing about 3D printing is you just use the scale button and that problem just goes away. And there you have it. I hadn't really noticed this team. It wasn't high on my agenda, but these models are outrageously impressive. Not my style, like, although I do like the 40k vibe. There's no guns, there's no chainsaws, it's fine. Some of them do have jetpacks, which makes me just want to scream and leap. I'm very glad that I got the STLs. I'm very glad I got to print them off, because now I know how much love and quality has gone into these. In that regard, they are awesome. The scaling is a bit too big. The styling definitely may not be to your liking, and they absolutely, positively need guns. Oh, I don't think I actually showed off the line orc. It's more of the same. It's a cool model, you've got the cool robot aesthetic, and it fits in with it. Now, whether a robot orc team is going to be to your liking or not is entirely down to you, but what I can tell you about these models, the sculpting quality and the execution is as good as it gets, and I'm impressed. The rendering is busy, but actually the sculpts are fantastic. So really cool team. Really, really, really pleased. So thank you to them for letting us have some STLs to play with, because I am really impressed. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy printing. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.